My name is Chris Gleason, and I'm here with Donna King, and collectively we are Results Coaching. We're going to be your coaches for today. Donna and I help individuals, leaders, and their teams to identify the things that matter most to them, and then we help them put a plan together to make that happen. Today we're here in support of you as individuals who may be facing uncertainty, confusion, or frustration from the aftermath of 2020. Lord knows it's been an amazing year, but we want to help you turn things around and get ready for this new year filled with opportunities and new horizons to reach. In this webinar, we're going to teach you 5 simple and proven principles to help you transform the way you think and perform. You'll get to experience the power of these 5 foundational principles of the Best Year Yet system, which is a program that Donna and I use with our clients. And you'll be able to immediately put these learnings into practice. You'll learn the attitude and actions needed to set you on a path to more positive outcomes. Now, some of you may be very familiar with the coaching process and may have worked with a coach before. In fact, maybe you've even worked with me or Donna. For those who haven't experienced it, coaching is defined by the International Coaching Federation as a creative and thought-provoking process that inspires people to maximize personal and professional potential. For this reason, we've designed the webinar to be interactive. So please use the chat box and your worksheet to capture answers to questions. And we'll be prompting for reflection. So after we finish a certain section of the program, we might ask for some feedback. We hope you'll participate in that. If you get stuck or have any questions, please use the chat box. And we're going to go fairly quickly today. So we suggest that you capture your first thoughts, whatever pops into your mind immediately. Deeper analysis really isn't necessary to get the full benefit of the program. Periodically, we will stop to ask volunteers to share. And at that point, feel free to unmute yourself, or if you'd like, just put your answers in the chat box and we'll read them out loud to the group. We encourage you to turn off your cell phone and other distractions for the next hour and just receive this gift of the next hour with an open mind and heart. So now I'm going to turn it over to Donna King, who will share with you the 5 principles of transformation. Donna.
Oh, great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks so much. So who on this webinar has created a personal or professional plan of some sort? Maybe a team plan or a strategic business plan of some sort, or perhaps you've set goals in some sort of way. Type your answers into the chat box. We'd love to know. Is there some kind of plan that you've done or goal setting in any way, whether you've done it in the past or are currently doing it? Yes, in company reviews. Oh, and someone else says that they have a personal plan that they're doing. Okay, yeah. So do you have any trouble staying on track to the plans that you've set or goals that you've set in the past? Are there any gaps between what you want and what you really get? Go ahead and type your answers into the chat box. Yeah, sometimes don't always get what you want. That's very true, very true. Well, you know, you're not alone. You know, many people have trouble kind of staying on track. And, you know, research shows that even less than 5% of the population actually set goals. And so if you do set goals, you're part of a very, very elite group. So congratulations on that. So, so why do you think that we don't always get the results we want? Any thoughts on that? Why don't we get what we want? We set these intentions, but sometimes they tend to, yeah, unrealistic expectations, exactly. Maybe we don't know exactly what we want. Very true. Very true.
Give up too soon?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what we found by working with clients in a variety of industries, that people who don't get the results they want have these things in common. Number one, limiting attitudes. We don't ever seem to learn from our lessons, and we don't deal with the things that really hold us back. Another thing is lack of action. We have no clear plan of attack or direction, and we don't focus on the priorities that really matter most. And yes, a lack of accountability. Um, some of us have poor follow through skills. And not only follow through skills, but it's about a lack of a visibility to progress. And what that tends to result in is what we call a low say do ratio, right? Yeah. And one of our mentors, Ginny Ditzler, who actually just passed away recently, and I think it's her birthday today, Chris. Did you realize that?
I didn't know that.
I saw that, yeah. She wrote this book, Your Best Year Yet, and she developed a process to create a success plan based on 5 key principles that address these issues and will transform the way you think and perform in all areas of life. So the 5 principles of transformation are: number 1, acknowledging and appreciating successes; number 2, learning and applying your lessons from the past; number 3, shifting limiting beliefs and assumptions that get in the way of our progress; number 4, living your values and resisting any kind of negative drivers that stray you off path and away from the person that you long to be. And the 5th one is setting and focusing on goals. Really, this is about putting your energy towards the actions that will make the biggest difference to your success and increase that say-do ratio. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill into each of these principles as I guide you through a series of thought-provoking questions to help you unleash your own inner wisdom and get in touch with those attitudes and actions needed to achieve the things that are meaningful to you. But first, let's take a moment to capture a vision of what success looks like to you. Okay? So you have a worksheet, and that would have been downloaded from your, actually what I'm going to do is put the worksheet in the chat box just in case you don't have it. But no worries, if you don't have the worksheet, you can just jot it down on a piece of paper and use a pen that you have handy. So think about this. Imagine your life a year from now. If you were to have your best year yet, what would it look like? Consider all areas of your life. And for the purposes today, just write down a few words or phrases to describe what you will be doing, how you'll be feeling. You could even draw a quick picture that illustrates that feeling, if that feels good. So consider your health, relationships, recreation, financial management, or even your personal growth. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. So just take that moment and write down what comes to mind first. Okay?
You want me to be your timekeeper?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I think there's about 30 more seconds.
Time's up.
Okay, great. Now what I want you to do is just hold that vision through the rest of this webinar, okay? Keep that picture in your mind. Now, our first principle of transformation is number one, appreciating successes. And appreciating successes is based on this model that we have right here, which is what we call the cycle of productivity. I'm sure it looks very familiar to most of you. It's really the 4 stages of getting anything done, right? So if you take a look at the first stage or phase, it's, an idea. We start something, we create something, and this is where we decide what to do. The second phase, that's doing or acting, the execution of the process. The third stage is completing, it's finishing something. It's what our partner calls putting a bow on it, right, Chris?
Yeah.
And the fourth stage is acknowledging. And this is where we celebrate all the good and our learnings that have come from whatever we have produced. Now, some of us are better in some areas than others. I know for myself, I tend to be pretty good at the phase 1 and phase 2, but I have a really hard time in stage number 3, saying that something's done. And you know what? I think that's because I'm a maximizer and I just keep polishing that pearl. And I tend to forget about phase 4. And many of us do that. We just, skip phase 4 and go directly into the first phase again. So I want to hear from you. Any thoughts on where you might get stuck or what phase you may get stuck in? Please.
Or which phase are you really good at?
Oh, true. So go ahead and type that in the chat box. Chris, what about you? Where do you feel you excel or maybe get stuck?
Well, I'm very good at taking an idea, mine or someone else's, and figuring out how to put it into a process. So I'm very good at the do stage.
Yeah.
I too am a bit of a perfectionist, so I really have to discipline myself to complete and move on. And I agree, acknowledging is a tough one. It takes discipline. Someone here says, I struggle with acknowledging. Another struggle with acknowledging.
So, you know what? The truth is that many of us just don't take the time to stop for phase 4, and we just move on to phase 1. But what happens when we skip that acknowledging stage? Any thoughts about what happens when we don't stop? Go ahead and type in the chat box, please.
You become forgotten. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. We lose our valuable lessons. Yeah. A lot of us tend to experience burnout too, especially when we drive ourselves over and over again. And you know what? Sometimes we feel unheard or uncared for, and we don't have the energy or the motivation to move forward. Yeah, you lose part of yourself when you do that. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not unusual for people to be in a number of projects at various phases. So you might be on quadrant 1 with one project, quadrant 2 with another, trying to finish up a third, and they're all happening at the same time. So it's doubly difficult to find the time to stop and acknowledge.
Right, right. Yeah, it turns you off to engage again. It seems to be a losing battle.
Yeah, good feedback.
Yeah, yeah. So, pausing to reflect is good at any time of year, but it's especially beneficial as we look ahead to the next 12 months. So, acknowledging and appreciating successes, it forces us to slow down and to appreciate the achievements in the good and in challenging times. It inspires gratitude and it connects us with those who've helped us along the way. It helps us determine the things we don't want to repeat in the upcoming year. And it fuels that creativity to plan for what's next, right? Many of us go through life feeling undervalued and underappreciated. And as a result, we lose the confidence in ourselves and our ability to make our dreams come true. We lose the ability to be masters of our own destinies. Our biggest obstacle is that we don't take the time to appreciate progress and the achievements from ourselves or others. So, before we put 2020 behind, let's take some time to reflect on the results from last year to celebrate our discoveries and appreciate accomplishments and learn from the challenges and the disappointments of 2020. So on your worksheet, what we're going to do is we're going to acknowledge and appreciate some successes from last year. So, many of you might have been on this webinar last week, we just did a webinar about creating your own best advice. And we explored some of these questions last time. So it might feel a little familiar with you, but stick with us. There's much, much more to come. So take a moment to reflect on the last 12 months. And what do you feel good about? Consider things both big and small. And I know it's been a challenging year for many of us. But the thing about challenging times is that it really tends to bring out the best in us. So I want you to think about, perhaps how resilient you were this past year, or how you connected and supported a loved one, or maybe you forged a new partnership or relationship, or perhaps you've pivoted your business in a new direction. So think about all areas of your life. I'm going to give you about a minute and a half to jot down your thoughts on your worksheet.
Another 30 seconds.
Get all those good thoughts jotted down.
Time's up.
Okay. Now, look at what you just wrote down. How does that feel? Congratulate yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. Right? Very good. Okay. So just be with that, because now we're going to go to the flip side of the coin here. Most of us find it a lot easier to remember the bad than the good. We tend to hold negative energy around our disappointments. So now's your chance to acknowledge your biggest disappointments from the year and let them go. We want to release that energy and move forward. The most successful people are the ones who can see their mistakes for what they are, learn from them, and then move on. So again, jot down a few thoughts on your worksheet. We'll just give you about a minute for this. What were your disappointments from this past year?
Oh, we're past a minute, Donna. Sorry.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So how did it feel to let go or actually tell the truth and put that down on a piece of paper? Released, right? Relief.
Yeah, not as good as accomplishments, but okay.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the second principle of transformation is learning your lessons. So we want to replicate the things that went well, and we want to eliminate the things that didn't go so well. So take a look at your accomplishments and disappointments, and ask yourself, how did I achieve the things that went well? What was my secret? And there are great lessons to be learned in the things that don't go well or as planned. So, what did I learn here? Or done to avoid this failure? Hone in on what your biggest lessons were and write down your biggest lesson on your worksheet. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to convert your biggest lesson, to a guideline or a piece of advice that you'll apply moving forward. So I have an example here. A lesson. Yeah. Networking generates referrals for my business, right? Well, my guideline here, or the piece of advice that I give myself moving forward, is make networking a priority. So a guideline or a piece of advice, our own words of wisdom, should be positive, memorable, start with a verb, and just keep it short. So we've worked with a number of people, and these are some examples of some guidelines that have come up in the past. So now it's your turn. When you think about your biggest guideline, convert it to, your biggest lesson, please convert it to a guideline. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this.
1 minute left. Thirty seconds.
Okay. So remember, you are your best source of wisdom for yourself. These guidelines, they help you make the right, or take the right action and to make the right decisions. So who'd be willing to share one of their guidelines in the chat box with us? Go ahead and type a guideline, that piece of advice that you're going to give yourself moving forward. I know I did this exercise last month, I guess, and one of mine is work smart to be fit. So my lesson is that I put so much energy into my work that I don't make time to work out. Not very good. So the piece of advice I give myself moving forward is to work smart to be fit.
Yeah, one of mine is to set 3 priorities a day and do them. I start off with a long list of to-dos every morning and immediately start on the easiest ones. So the end of the day comes around and I don't have my priorities done.
Mhm.
So my guideline is to focus on priorities.
Mhm. So Tracy says, my lesson is to thrive in the chaos. 2020 was an excellent year for me. My guideline is to keep creating opportunities to grow. Oh, I love that.
Nice,
Nicely
Tracy.
done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the third principle of transformation, which is shifting limiting beliefs and assumptions. So, unless we wake up to the negative beliefs and assumptions that we have about ourselves or others and what's possible, we limit ourselves. So, take a look at this model I have right here on my slide. A paradigm is a belief or assumption about yourself, about someone else, or about a situation. It causes a behavior, and that leads to a result. Now, when we don't get the results we want, what we tend to do is just change the actions. But the truth is, we need to understand and shift the limiting belief behind it. So we have to go deeper, we have to drill deeper. So think about the areas of your life where you're not achieving what you want to or behaving in a way that doesn't reflect your best self. Ask yourself, how do I limit myself? And what do I do to explain my limiting behaviors? These are the excuses that you give yourself and where your limiting beliefs and paradigm lie. So, once you identify your limiting beliefs, you can work to shift your focus to a more positive, powerful, and empowering vision. So here's an example for you. In this sentence, I'd love to make that call to close the deal on that proposal that I submitted, but I don't. That's the limiting action because I think they'll tell me that my fees are too high. Well, you know what? That's a limiting paradigm. That's an excuse. I have no way of knowing that that is the truth. That's simply the negative self-talk, that monkey mind or incessant chatter in the back of my head that blocks progress. So to shift the limiting paradigm, what we must do is focus on a new empowering paradigm that tosses the old one on its head. So in this example, my new empowering paradigm could be something like, my gifts are valued and in demand. Feel the difference there? Very different. There's a lot more energy there, a lot more positivity, and it's something that I can focus on. So now it's your turn. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to fill out the blanks on your worksheet so you can discover what may be limiting you. And then go ahead and craft your new empowering mindset. Now, this is something that you'll want to drill into much deeper after this webinar. Chris and I give quality time to this process when we coach our clients through this. So I'll give you, let's go for 1.5 minutes here.
Thirty seconds left. Time's up.
Okay. Whew. Hard work there, right? So if I'd love to hear your new paradigm. So whoever's willing to share the paradigm in the chat box, please do. We would love to hear from you.
So Donna, what's your paradigm?
Oh, good
Did
question.
I get you off guard?
You did, but I have it right here.
All right.
I am a waterfall of abundance.
Ooh, I love that. Mine is, I have everything I need. This is my moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't be shy. My actions accurately show my top priorities. Beautiful.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That is a positive focus, very empowering, and can lead you to a new outcome. Okay, let's move on. The fourth principle of transformation is to live your values. If you want to turn things around, it's really important to be clear about your beliefs and your core values. Values are your fundamental beliefs that guide and motivate your attitude and actions. So why do you think values are so important? Any thoughts? You can type in the chat box. They're a moral compass and our standards of integrity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, values help determine what's important to us and what's worthwhile doing. They are the motive behind purposeful actions, whether good or bad. And we long for our values to be demonstrated, and they often clear the path to authentic action. So as you think about the upcoming year, What values may you tap into, and how do they connect with your voice of wisdom? Make a list of 3 to 6 values that you cherish most. Now, many of you will instinctively know what your values or core values are, but here's a short list to prompt some thought. What rises to the top? I'm going to give you a minute to jot down the ones that rise to the top and the ones that really speak to you, speak to your head, your heart, and your gut. Okay, what do we have? About 30 more seconds or so. Okay. Then once you have your list complete, reflect on the values that you wrote down. How well are you currently living these values? Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on how well you currently are living these values. Is it a 5 where you might need some work? Or as you look at these, perhaps you realize that some values are being compromised. To live a life of integrity and to build success, we must consciously and actively make them the foundation of our daily choices and activities. They have to be in sync with our goals and our intentions.
Can I add something here, Donna?
Certainly.
I think understanding your values and being conscious of what other people's values might be can help you understand the actions and activities of others. One of the things that we had talked about was people who really value putting a mask on right now. Those are people who value safety and security.
Right.
And we have a tendency, or those people have a tendency, to point to people who don't wear masks and say, what's going on with them? Well, it might be that their values are all about freedom and freedom of choice. So it helps to better understand other people. It can impact your emotional intelligence by trying to understand what other people's motivation is. And it's usually coming from values.
Right, right. Instead of making a assumption or a judgment about why they do or do not do something.
Right, right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So the 5th principle of transformation is setting and focusing on SMART goals. Achieving the results that matter most really starts with setting SMART goals. And, we don't have time to do this today, but it's important that when you craft your intentions, you make them specific, right? Really hone in on what it is that you're going to do and make them measurable. And the M is measurable, but I like to call out meaningful, meaningful to what you want and your vision and in tune with your values. Make your goals attainable. You want to know that you can achieve them. They're results oriented and relevant to what you want, and make them time bound. There's a deadline against it. You know, when we do this process with our clients, we create plans 12 months out. So there's an annual deadline, but even along the way, monthly goals have an end date to it too. So again, we want to ensure that the goals are in alignment with your vision of success. When we started this session today, you had a picture in your mind of what you really wanted. So when you think about your goals and intentions, is it in alignment? And are they in alignment with the things that matter most to you and in sync with your core values? And then also consider, how are you going to stay accountable to your goals and increase that say-do ratio that we talked about before? These are all very powerful questions to ask yourself. Okay. So there you have it, the 5 principles of transformation and the first step in achieving the things that matter most to you. Take a moment to reflect on your worksheet and think about what would be different? What would turn around if you consistently followed your guideline? If you consistently focused on your new empowering paradigm? If you lived in alignment with your values? And if you focused on the goals that would make the biggest difference to you? What would be different? Go ahead and type your discoveries in the chat box. We want to hear from you. Someone said it's important to manage my mindset. Exactly.
Yeah. The values portion was an eye-opener.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I do the best that I can with the information I'm giving. I would have more confidence in myself and some self-value. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay, so one last question. What will you do next as a result of your learnings here today? What support might you need? Who will you reach out to for support? Who will you share your intentions with? And most importantly, what's the first step you'll take? So go ahead and type your accountabilities in the chat box. What will you do as a result of this webinar? What's one thing you will do?
Keep my guideline in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
To write a list of my intentions. That's a great start. Focus on what I know to do. I'll spend more time on my priorities and a little less on everybody else's priorities. Yeah, it's funny how other people's projects or priorities tend to seep into ours. Mm-hmm. There might be something around boundaries there, huh?
Yeah. Remind myself daily of my empowering paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And show up every day. Practice work-life balance. Nice.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Beautiful.
Well, these
Very
are gifts you gave us today.
Yeah. Yes.
knowing that
Wonderful.
we can have an impact.
Hmm. Well, I know that these 5 principles of transformation literally changed my life. Um, I went through this process the first time probably about 16 years ago, I guess. And it was actually, I'm a product of the product. I, uh, I was blessed to be able to go through this process with an organization that I was involved in. I was on their leadership team, and Results Coaching actually came in and coached us. And it changed my life personally and professionally. And I decided that I wanted to share this with other people. And so now both Chris and I, we work with individuals, leaders in their teams to help them step up to their full potential and realize the results that they never thought that they could get. So I think Chris and I are pretty passionate about what we do. And anyway, I thank you all for being here today. And again, this is just a abbreviated version of the overall process designed to help you create a personal plan for long-term success. Chris?
So, as Donna said, this is part of the overall process that we use with our clients, and it's designed to help the people that we work with or individuals who choose to participate to create a personal plan for long-term success. And we do have a full half day, a full half, that doesn't make sense. We have a half day online workshop scheduled on April 9th. So we invite you to join us during that time. We'll help you create a personal success plan focused on your priorities for 2021. We'll help you explore an area of your life where you most need a breakthrough. We will help you create goals that feel like gifts that you're giving yourself. What Donna and I discovered is that many times our clients' list of goals reads like a to-do list, a list of shoulds. And we like to say, quit shoulding on yourself. Create goals that feel like gifts. Develop a process to be accountable to your plan. So we do in this project or this workshop, we provide you with a 12-month subscription to our online planning and tracking system. And that enables you to track and measure your progress in successfully achieving your goals. Optionally, you can continue with monthly review sessions by engaging in one-on-one coaching, or we often offer group coaching with cohorts from the workshop. So options are available to you. We also do a number of things to support our clients. We do offer one-on-one coaching engagements. We do team coaching within organizations and group coaching, as I had mentioned, but we also do lunch and learns and workshops. So if you manage a team and you'd like us to come in over a lunch hour and share some knowledge, information, wisdom with them, we're happy to do that. We have a number of free workshops coming up on February 25th from 4 to 5 p.m. Making sense of this mad, mad world. We've really been on a roller coaster for the past 12 plus months. So how do you make sense of all of this? March 3rd from 4 to 5, we'll be repeating our 5 principles of transformation. So if you appreciated what you learned today, want to share that with someone else, suggest that they join us. On March 25th, again from 4 to 5, we're doing a workshop on emotional intelligence matters. EQ is what emotional intelligence is called, and it's a higher indicator of success than IQ. So hope we've tempted your palate there with that one. And then we have our half-day workshop, as I mentioned, on April 9th. That runs from 1:30 to 5:30, and it goes through the full Best Year Yet process. What we shared with you today is not even half of what we can share with you through our full program. And then in April, we have scheduled a Be a Breakthrough Manager. So if you'd like to sign up for any of those sessions, you can either visit us at www.resultscoaching.us. I almost said .com. .us, that's important. or you can go to Eventbrite. Our activities and workshops are listed there as well. So thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time out today, and hope that this is just the beginning of 2021 being one of your best years ever.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate your time.